Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Shai. Before I begin, I want to share with great sadness that the commander of my best friend was killed last night in Lebanon. His name was Itamar Sapir, and he was an officer in the Maglan unit. May his memory be a blessing. So, thank you for coming tonight. It's a very special evening for us, and we are excited to share it with you. My name is Shai. I'm 23, from Herzliya, and I served in Battalion 13 of the Golani Brigade. My job was to be there for soldiers and their families emotionally and financially. October 7th, 2023 is the day that changed my life. 2 weeks before my discharge, I was stationed at a small military base near the Gaza border, Nahal Oz, one of the first places attacked that morning. At 6:30 a.m., I woke up to the sound of explosions, and within seconds we ran to a shelter. There were 20 of us inside, still in our pajamas, and only 3 of us had weapons. At first, I didn't understand what was happening, but within minutes, we realized we were under a massive attack. We were trapped inside the shelter while 350 terrorists stormed the base. It didn't feel real. I felt like I was in a war movie. I kept telling myself, this can't be real. This will pass, help is coming. But it didn't. During those hours, I was responsible for communication, gathering information about the injured and the fallen soldiers of my battalion. I had to ask questions no one should ever have to ask. Who is injured? How badly? Who is still alive? I didn't allow myself to feel afraid. I focused on what needed to be done. When my mom called me, I lied to her. I told her, there are 100 soldiers here protecting me, everything is fine. And when she asked about the gunfire in the background, I hung up. I didn't want my parents to know what was really happening because my dad was a military man, and I knew that if he understood what I was going through, he would take his weapon and head down to the south. And that was the last thing I wanted to happen. At one point, I called for help and told them that I needed 3 helicopters to evacuate everyone. They told me that there was only 1 evacuation helicopter, and it was up to me to decide who would go on it. That moment will forever stay with me. Because how do you choose who lives and who dies? It was a hard moment where I felt a lot of pressure and had tears in my eyes. In the end, no helicopter was able to land since the area was too dangerous. We were completely on our own. At 11 a.m., my commander called me and told me that he trusts me, so he needs me to be his eyes and ears inside the base. He needed me to guide a combat helicopter to kill the terrorists. From my shelter, I was able to hear the terrorists singing and screaming in Arabic. Through the holes in the walls, I could see exactly where they were and was able to guide the pilot of the helicopter. At one point, we heard a tank getting blown up by terrorists. One of the soldiers who had been in the tank was shot right in front of us. 2 of the other soldiers managed to reach our shelter. One of them was bleeding heavily from his arm. I didn't have any medical supplies, so I used his shirt and socks to try to stop the bleeding. We witnessed miracles. A grenade was thrown into our shelter, and incredibly, it didn't explode. And then a terrorist entered the shelter. One of the fighters who was with us shot him, but his gun jammed. Every single one of us was sure it was over. All the girls ran to the back to hide, but I went to the front. I knew I'd rather die than be kidnapped. But then the terrorist's weapon also jammed, and he ran out of the shelter. As he ran, we managed to shoot him. After 11 long hours, we were finally rescued. When we stepped outside, I saw destruction I will never forget. There were burning cars, blood, bodies, and bullet holes everywhere. That day, we lost 42 soldiers, 42 friends. 19 of them were killed at Nahal Oz. The day before, Friday, October 6th, my last Shabbat in the army, it was very windy. So I told the girls, let's go light the candles in the shelter so they won't blow out. Just a few hours later, the same shelter was where we hid. And it was the only shelter in Nahal Oz where no one got killed. After that, I didn't go home. I stayed with my brigade for 54 days. I couldn't go home and leave my soldiers, who meant everything to me, to deal with it on their own. So I stayed in reserves for 5 more months. I kept going because stopping meant facing everything, and I wasn't ready for that. But eventually, it caught up with me, and I started dealing with anxiety, nightmares, and flashbacks. That's when I realized I needed help. I began intensive psychological therapy, a process I'm still in today. When I joined Belev Echad, it became my second home. It's a place where I don't feel different. Everyone there has been wounded, and everyone is there to heal. I feel like I always have someone to turn to when I need help, and that there is always a strong, supportive hug waiting for me there. As part of my growth within the organization, I wanted to take a more active role. So I volunteered to join the Belev Echad team that visits wounded soldiers in the hospitals, supports their families, and makes sure they have everything they need. Through helping others, I found meaning in my own experience, and that became a meaningful part of my healing process. One of the most exciting parts of my journey has been the girls' program, Neshek. Even in an organization that is mostly made up of men, we are truly seen and supported. Last December, I attended the Neshek Women's Retreat in Israel, where I spent a weekend with many of the other women from Belev Echad. The most special part for me was meeting so many strong women and continuing to stay connected with them afterward. Once a week, I come to the women's only room in the Belev Echad house for massages, facials, and other relaxing treatments. I love having a space that's just for us. Because of everything I've been through, and through the deep and meaningful therapy process I continue to go through, I decided to begin studying psychology. My goal is to specialize in trauma and PTSD and to become a clinical psychologist so that one day I can help people who have gone through experience similar than mine. And in a way, those difficult moments I went through are also the very moments that are helping me grow and move forward in my personal life. This is my story, not just what happened to me, but how I chose to be better. Thank you so much for coming.